Law and Order. Who you got? Word bank.
TV show.
Alright, some other things.
A TV show I've never seen, but I know it's a TV show. Government. Police. Society.
Society.
Controlled chaos. Rules.
Oh, what was that? TV show, government, police, society, controlled. I can't read my own writing this morning.
Chaos.
Chaos. Jeez, that's
Rules.
bad. Rules.
Restrictions.
Rules.
Documents.
Documents. I'm gonna go ahead and throw out enforcement. It's kind of like, it is what police do, but I'm just throwing the word out. Or enforce. I think of household. Relativity.
Schools.
School. I mean, everything's really ran under that, if you ask me, right? Like that principle, or whatever you might label law and order to be. I think that's governed, right? In some sense, that strictly is just governed in its sense, every sense of the word. Parents. Anything else?
I think that's a pretty good list.
Okay. I know I'm gonna throw it out there because of me and my faith. Alright. What is law?
What we are controlled by to keep everything in order.
So would you say, breaking down the word law is a rule?
Yeah.
Pretty layman's term. But let's move over to order now. What is order?
I guess I would think of hierarchy.
Hierarchy?
Uh-huh.
I don't even know how to spell that word. I gotta put that in the word bank. How do I spell?
H-I. This is where the mistakes come in. No judgment.
It's okay, we're human. We're human.
H-I-E-R? Higher, and then A-R-C-H-Y.
H-I-E-R A.
A-R-C-H-Y.
You'll have to spell check yourself.
That
Scripts, we're not doing a spelling bee here, so if you are watching us, bear
Yeah,
with
that
us.
looks wrong, but that's
bear
okay.
with us.
We all get the point.
If that's right though,
This is
little golf clap
this is real and raw.
from the maybe 1 or 2 viewers.
I gotta
Anyways,
look it up.
what is order? Hierarchy, to me, let's think of order like the alphabet.
Yeah, that's right.
You did it? That's my buddy. Love it. Just sound it out.
Hierarchy.
I love it.
Anywho.
Order in an alphabet. How would we put that in the words to explain the alphabet? Chronological.
Organization.
I like that.
Like chronological organization as one.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over here. Order.
Would you like the real definition?
Let's look it up. I mean, it's hard for me to put words together and make it condensed and it makes sense to me.
The arrangement of people or things. Authoritative command, direction. That would probably be a good one.
I think the arrangement is better because direction is not always followed.
Okay.
Right? How about both?
Arranged direction.
Okay. I like that.
Final answer.
Arrange with 2 R's.
Yes.
You forget how hard spelling is now because how easy spell check makes everything.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. Now, to me, a rule, how do you, what's a rule without, to me, again, arrange direction, this is the part right here. I mean, that's a rule, in some sense, right? Slash guiding for those that break rules. Direction, okay, I'm gonna go that way, because that's what the sign says. A lot of people do that. And then there's a lot of people that say, nah, I'm not gonna do that. Like, unruly.
Like sporting events, for instance. They make you go in a certain direction or a certain way to get in. And there's always those people that are like, I'm gonna go that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's trying to find the quicker route in cars, right? Or trying to leave a sporting event or a large group. There's always a reason.
When there's too many rules, in my opinion, because I've witnessed this, when there's too many rules, sometimes people rebel.
It can be very difficult to control the crowd. I mean, think of, up here I have inside and outside with 2 little stick figures, obviously. What comes to your brain right away with those? I just wanted to see where they'd go. But when I say inside, what do you think? What do you think of this?
Like inside the circle. They're in the middle of the action.
Okay. So,
Someone on the outside is left out.
okay.
That's what I think of.
you put that guy in here, right?
I think social circle.
Okay. So to me, I was more so talking about the thoughts, you know, inside the head. Okay. And then out here, I was thinking outside. In here, I'm assuming you would do the same thing out here. Okay. And to me, this is the difference of, you know, local or individual versus local. And then we have a global scale the minute we start adding more heads and bodies to the mix. Okay? That makes sense, right? So, we have law and order in our own heads. We have law and order outside that's being pushed onto us, whether it's in a classroom setting, a household setting, family settings, relationship settings. There's standards, right? I think that's ultimately what, if you look at law, we say it's a rule, but I think this is the big word that we're missing out on. And I've touched on it with you before. Oop. I've touched on it with you before, and I'm a guy that loves, you know, going fast. Anybody that knows me knows I might as well play the role of Ricky Bobby. You know, you'd think it's a race to get from point A to point B, and I hate to admit it. That's not the way I am anymore. You know that. I've learned through the precious cargo in my passenger seat that I need to slow down. And those people made me realize, wait a minute, I'm precious cargo too, not to mention all the people around us. But there's more to my actions than, you know, just what I thought. And this governing, you know, brain can lead to how we respond in social settings, which we're seeing right now in a world that's, sadly, I think the word chaos is not so controlled right now. And who's to blame? You know, I'm not throwing stones at people and saying shame, shame, shame. I'm disappointed, very disappointed to wake up, you know, 2 days in a row, just seeing the way things spread. Fire spreads. For anybody that doesn't know that, we're seeing it. How do we resolve the fire, the problem? Do we fight it with more fire? Well, that's talk to fire officials. Sometimes that's what they do. I think right now when we see people taking the law into their own hands, that's when it gets a little dicey. I wake up to two things. A brother of mine on Facebook praying for Atlanta. We're so ignorant, right? Like, we're so ignorant. Let's look up. I will. Let's look it up. Holy cow. Protests over what's going on in Minneapolis. So 2 days prior, when I say we're in Phoenix and everything's fine, maybe right now, that's sad. I'm saddened to think that that's where that's what we're resorting to as humans. And then to top that, not to again judge or throw stones at my brothers and sisters that are fighting for what they believe is right. They're disappointed. I was in Venezuela during a time where I believe they're still in this time, civil war. Like, what does that mean? You could see people getting blown up on TV. It was disgusting. It was terrifying. Did I feel threatened when I was there? Truthfully, I praise God for my faith in Him, because if I didn't have it, I'd probably be terrified. But they made me feel safe. The people themselves, great people. Are there bad people there? Are there bad people here? I think it's sad right now that we're seeing people that are good people before the killing of George Floyd, perceived as good people, following direction. I think it's sad that all of a sudden this is what happens. Is that we get so blown up, we have no way to release, so we pop. How much has that been my excuse?
Yeah.
And so I can't shame us at all. It's more of it's sad, it's infuriating, because on the flip side of this, I hope you keep your train of thought. On the flip side of this, the second thing I wake up to is a police officer that is choking out an individual on IGN TV or whatever that network is, IGTV, and it's a 12-minute video, so I watch it. I fall into that. Not fall in, I'm curious. Where is it going to go? And we see a man exercise his authority, trying to uphold the law. Am I going to condemn a police officer? I could. Do they make mistakes? Yeah. Do umpires make mistakes on a baseball field? Yes. Is it different when we're talking about somebody killing someone and then somebody missing a ball in a strike? Or safe and you're out? Yeah. There's a big difference. But in humanity, is there? And that's where I think we're missing the point. We're forgetting the police officers that are out there having to police. Look at this herd that we have growing. You said it yourself, too many rules lead to people rebelling. We've driven on the highways lately. Are speed limits followed?
No.
No. California specifically, I think they said in that short time that we had to make a trip home. My dad tells me that CHP or California makes a statement that they had the largest number of 100-mile-an-hour speeding tickets that they had ever seen, not to mention several over 140. That's crazy. I've done a high limit of speed. I've done it. But that's crazy when we have everyone doing it. So I'll be the guy that throws myself under the bus. Happily. At what point are we risking what we've put together? Every family wants order, I would assume. Even you haven't watched Shameless yet, but Frank, they portray this man that wants some order, as he uses the word continuity in some sense in the words in season 8. Which anybody that's seen the show might laugh at that because of the way he goes about his business. But it's perception. I'm not supporting anything there. I'm just giving imagery here on the fact that right now, I think this order and our lack of, it's scary. Going back to all the other conversations, we have people that are scared to conversate. They've got masks over their face for fear of health. And then we got rage from people that have been wrongfully treated, have been murdered. In their heads, the people that are acting with rage, they believe that George Floyd was murdered, so they're protesting. They're standing for something until they see justice. And on the flip side, we've got the law, the governing officials, that are continuing to uphold law. I mean, it's sad. I could see it in baseball. again, I hate to compare baseball to life, but it's like, I can only talk about what I know, right? I don't have all the answers.
Like over there on the side. I cannot teach anyone anything. I can only make or help them think, and you don't know what you don't know.
That's right. And I've been so fortunate to be helped by the village around me. And I'm just trying to be a part of the village right now. I'm sad to see what's going on. I really am. And I just want to, I've got people close to me that I know I love, that in their own ways are struggling like you and I have our struggles. And this has been an outlet for us to create a bridge for each other, as we've talked about. And so this is just a platform for us to get it out there, to communicate, right? And then to have a sense of direction. Like, this is an example of it in our life. But right now, how can we relate to it in the real world, and how the world is, you know, at jeopardy in some sense. Our world, back to the, you know, this is jokes to some, but what's the difference between an outhouse and a public restroom, or a restroom at a nice establishment or home that's upkept? What's the difference between an outhouse that's kind of typical perception? Just asking.
I mean, run down, dirty, outside.
Stinky,
Yeah.
probably. Not clean.
No one wants to use it, which I don't know why, because I don't mind.
Well, you've used them at, and I've gone to a rodeo with you where the frickin' outhouses were all pretty damn clean. So it was
Yeah.
like, there's only a 3-day weekend and
Yeah.
not that much traffic, so they don't get completely, you know, demolished. But the outhouse at the gas station that we had to go to last time when we saw Nike, if you were to walk into that outhouse, which I'll happily take you to, not that you were going to say you want to, it is absurd. It makes you appreciate walking into
A clean outhouse.
not only a clean outhouse, but walking actually back out
Into the world.
into the world. So I've walked into Mexico, or got out of the car in Mexico, or rolled my windows down in Mexico when I was 16 years old. Nothing against Mexico, because I've been in Mexico where it was very clean and pure and beautiful, and walked down the road, even though maybe some would say you had some balls to do that. I trust. But that time in Mexico was Tijuana, and it happened to smell like urine. Anybody that says they would walk into a bathroom and say that they want that, I would question. I would show them the other. I wouldn't say you're such a piece of crap.
No pun intended.
Yeah. But it's more of, you don't know what you don't know. And this is introduction. This is reminders. This is, I like having cleanliness. I like having order. I like the police officers protecting. I like the security guard. I like trusting those establishments. Because they too are doing a job. I'm sorry I interrupted you earlier. I had to kind of finish that little tangent that I was on. Do you have any recollection of where you were?
No, but I think it would be nice when you see the words law and order. How come we don't think of the words world, family, brothers and sisters, togetherness? Like, isn't that what that's supposed to do? So why have we gone so far off the map of like, look at the words that we said? I mean, is there anything in the word bank that we said that has any form of like happiness, togetherness, anything? I mean, it's all like
But the
what
only-
you can't do, rules. What you can't do, restriction. What you can't do, like, we have to be enforced. Which is fine, but I think perception, it all goes back to that, but like, why can't we gain a different perspective of law and order? And that would be something like, this is a great thing, we're all working together, like, we're all one. But no one thinks of those words.
You know, I think God works so mysteriously in this conversation alone, or whiteboard. Look at that. Like, look at how that happened. Before we did this, I asked, like, is this a topic you're up for? You were kind of, truthfully, especially like this morning, I'm like, this is crazy right now in the world. I need to do this. We need to do this. And I don't know why, but something told me we need to do that. And it could be for just somebody to sit down and just watch, to give them a little bit of, what would you say other than,
Insight.
yeah, guidance. Try to help give them a little bit of light in a world that is, we got darkness. We see darkness. Anybody that doesn't look out, doesn't see it, I'm proud of. But at the same time, I'd be like, knock, 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 or like, are you there? Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't want to knock because we have neighbor issues here, and we could easily get
and we
people
don't need
irritated. So it's funny how sensitive this world is. I'm just happy that you brought up this topic because you're like, this isn't a God topic. And I said I beg to differ.
But we all need to help each other out. I mean, for instance,
It's just cool that, I think it's cool. Like, go ahead. For instance.
not to bring this up again, but like toilet paper at the store, folks, what are we doing? I mean, everybody needs toilet paper, so we're all in this together. We can't be like selfishly just working for ourselves right now. Like, where is the order in that?
Yeah, I think that's back to opinion. I mean, I'm with you, Danielle. I think people respond. We did the same thing.
It's called.
So it's silly, like you
Of
can't.
course we did.
We can't. We
couldn't
got to
find
be
it.
careful, like throwing stones, because if you throw stones, we live in a glass house. So I'm with you. I didn't hear you throwing a stone. I'm just. Our order, our sense of order, I believe to be a little off balance, off kilt, whatever, kilter. Standard is when ultimately, I think we have an odd perspective of law and order. And that's what, brother, sister, right now we've got individuals put into a box. And that's what we are. We are so entitled to that box and space. My space. Oddly enough, the first social platform that I could relate to was that. And then that expanded, right? Just
AIM, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Vine, TikTok, Snapchat.
and I'm not here to blame, but this is where it went. Originally such a happy thing to go onto this platform, right? And share all of you that you wanted to. This is you, a little kid, this is you with maybe your sibling, this is you with your dog. I mean, and then we've gotten to a place where we go out into the world. I know how that is where I felt out of place. I don't know about you. I felt out of place, truthfully. I felt like if I didn't fit in, well, I'm going back home. Like, there was no, some would say confidence, courage. There's nothing wrong about being out here and not being in social settings.
Well, you felt the pressure, so
Yeah.
you retreated back to, in quotes, my space.
Yep. As soon as I went out,
Maybe you felt judgment, or what you perceived to be judgment, trying to fit in.
it's all of that, right? Fear of maybe, or tiredness of this.
Or searching for popularity, or searching for something that you were never going to be fulfilled by. Because in elementary school to college or young adult life, it doesn't even matter.
Well, to me, it was like, that's terrible. What is that? Little League mound on a baseball field, apparently. This was my safe place. That was literally, I know we talked about it a little bit, but this was my safe place. That was my heaven. Why am I bringing that up? Only because when I went out into the world, that was where I got, like, away from it.
And look how many things have happened with your heaven, and you still want it, crave it, go for it.
Yeah. I value it. I mean, what is anything without value? It's literally irrelative. If you don't value something, it's irrelative. So to me, that is so, like, it's everything within reason. The coolest thing I was told by a baseball member, a family member, baseball will be here long after you. I'm going to write that down. Because to me, that was like, whoa, baseball will be here long after you. As I put this, this was, heck, you could have the sun and the moon, family. I love my family, but I also come from, like many, and I think all, to and within reason, a very divided family. But of the family I consider immediate, and you've seen, we're tight. This pressure out here, for me to be told my heaven, my safe place, was going to just someday stop. And at that point, he told me that because of his concern with me and my health. My health number one priority. And it was, in this person's eyes, going downhill. And in my eyes, it was going downhill. I was chasing a high. Baseball was working to help me. I was coughing up black tar. Literally couldn't breathe. My ruler, which was a set of rules here, and then a set of rules here, which was governed by my dad. Do right, do best, treat others the way I wanted to be. So, obviously, my dad had the direct influence inside our roof. Your family had a direct influence on you, right? Every child has a direct influence, or is directly influenced by their parents, law, and order. Or, for that matter, maybe even lack of, based off of the judgment from some outwardly looking in on them. To me, watching this value decrease, as my value decreased, I was injured. That's what happened. My space now was, I was unable to go out here. I had to stay back in here because Mom got hurt. That's a
X-nay on the arm.
That's an X-nay on the arm. A. And this to me was already round 2. (2008), now 2011. I was dealing with this. To see my space go from baseball, heaven, touching others' lives, to cram me in my own environment and make me face some of those things that I feel like I was running from. You know, I don't like being told what to do. I wasn't like the most unruly human being by any means, but if it came to me wanting something, I guess I was manipulative in some sense to try to make that happen in every sense of the word.
Yeah, you wanted what you wanted.
I wanted what I wanted, and I was gonna get it. I was gonna get it. Like I thought that's just what life is about. Like, and I didn't get everything I wanted growing up. Like I was certainly taught that lesson. But I was also shown splurging lessons that I was given through love. My grandma spoiled me in some sense, in every sense of the word, a couple times. And I got things. So things really started giving me a different perception of value and what is value. And then you start thinking, things are value. Well, that is is what it is. In this sense, when that man told me baseball will be here long after you, that humbled me. Straight up. And some people don't know what that word might mean. That humbled me. And I would hope we can all get that word in our lives and understand what it means. Because I think we pridefully defend, which is like the opposite. It's the opposite in some sense of humble. Like, it's funny. Like, I too. Pride. Out the yin yang. Like, holy cow, stubborn. Stubborn. How do you spell stubborn? S-T-U-B-B-O-R-N. No U.
Correct.
This is, to get there, it's an accountability thing.
To get there is hard. It's letting go of everything you know. Or we're accustomed to.
I don't know. I thank God for this. Letting go, right? Like, when I found that was an issue and it was dropping, I needed help. This shirt, there's no high like the Most High. Some people might laugh at me. Laugh at that statement. I know what that means to me. I remember walking into a training room one time, and one of our trainers, our staff for the team, I walked into the conversation at a time where he said he was high on life. At that time, Danielle, I was being drug tested every week to make sure that I wasn't doing what I was doing at a time when they had caught me. It was smoking marijuana at the time. In 2000, the off season, I believe, of 2009 going into 2010. I got a warning, which marijuana was on the banned substance list for the minor leagues and the major leagues for that matter. I failed a test, and mind you, this time period, 2010, is when I get the marijuana slap, kind of, and help for that matter, by MLB. This leads into drug testing. I went through this not only with myself, but a couple of my peers in baseball. I saw, this process. Like, I wasn't just being isolated, I was being treated the same as others, which was comforting to know, like, okay, this is just how they handle this situation. And again, this is not something that is an easy conversation to talk about, but in the setting of what happened, as I'm being tested on a daily basis for a substance, for this substance, I go in and I hear a guy say, he's high on life. I never heard somebody say that. We got birds chirping. You can say it out loud. That's you.
It's always been
That's
me.
always been you. I'm high on life. Like, he was so happy. It was so cool. Straight up, it was impactful. That impacted me. I remember who said it. You know, again, that to me was a state of mind where I was chasing an escape. In my space, I was looking for a way out. I was looking for a way out. And so, you know, we talked about earlier, you brought up how, you know, we can tie this in, brother, sister, family, God. It's like, well, this is how it happened in my life. And it's not like this storybook where, you know, everyone wants to hear it. It's not this thing that I can sit down and maybe you want me to share in front of who knows who, for that matter. All I know is there's no harm in my soul that I can say that I'm going to come into your house or come into your mind and try to mess with it or damage it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hope you believe that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
genuinely, I hope that the world around me understands that if I was to get